If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
So we had a quick introduction session about MDG. Okay, so basically MDG means it's a master data governance where we create a master data and we govern the master data using MDG component. Okay, so this MDG is a kind of add-on component on top of any existing ECC system or S4 system. Okay, so in traditional way where we create a master data using the specific transaction codes like MM01, MM02, or XK01, VD01, or else the finance related transaction codes where you create a master data. So in addition, whatever we do with respect to those transaction codes, how we create a master data, the same way we create the master data using MDG as well. So in this process, instead of we use the regular SAP GUI specific transaction codes, we use the web-based applications to create the master data. But the way that you create a master data, it almost it's similar to the way that we create in using the regular transaction codes. Okay, so you'll have almost every attribute that we use or we actually populate while creating the master data. The similarly all the attributes are available in especially all the views of the master data. Like when you create a material, you'll have basic data, purchasing information, sales information, then you'll have accounting information, plant related information, valuation related information. So likewise different views you will be having. The same way we can create even using MDG as well. So you can see my screen, right? Okay, so if I go and create if it allow to create a material, I'll go to MM01 transaction the regular traditional way. I'll select a particular industry sector, material type. Okay, so these are the different views that we can actually create using MM01 transaction. While creating the material master, I can create the basic view, basic information, then classification, sales related information. So likewise, I can create all these different views using MM01 or while creating the master data in material master. Okay, so then I'll be providing the description, material description, like I'll say here, this is a screw. Unit of measure is something like each. Material group, you can select some material, provide some material group over here, some information, and then I can just save this particular material. So the material number 481 gets created in the system. In addition, if at all you wanted to maintain, there are other tabs are there where we can actually populate the information, other related information. Okay, now the same thing I can also create using MDG as well. Let me show, let's get it saved first. Yeah, so the material number 481 or what are the material number that got created over here. Now if I go to MDG, so to log into the MDG, so the you can actually, it's a web-based application, you can actually navigate through the NWBC NetWeaver business client. Okay, so NWBC NetWeaver business client, sorry. So it's a web-based application. So there are different based on the roles, you can actually navigate to the specific material master creation one. Let me, I'm just trying to show you that UI so that you can get familiar with these applications. These user details. Okay, so for every there are different roles are provided by SAP. Okay, so let's say for example, if you for material master, so there are different roles like material master display is the display role is there, Then you have something called requester role will be there. So likewise, but we will talk about all these roles later. But this is how your MDG material governance homepage look like. Okay, so now you can, this is a home page where you can actually uh, search the materials, you can create a material, you can change existing materials, or else you can set some of the materials as with a deletion flag. So those materials will be marked for deletion. In SAP world, usually any master data we don't delete it physically from the tables, but we can set something like there is a deletion flag, so we can actually mark them as the deletion, so that the material will be inactive. Okay, and we have something called mass processing to perform bulk operations on materials. I have some thousand materials, I wanted to maybe change some value, or I wanted to mark those materials as deleted, thousand materials. So you can perform bulk operations using file uploads, or there are some mass capabilities are there. And you also have something called change documents. Change document is basically to track that the same material actually can be changed by multiple people. So who changed, what changes he has done, so all those kind of tracking, you can actually get the details using the change pointers in MDG. We call it as a change documents. So all the change document history of this particular material, you can check it over here. You can generate some reports over here, and also you can control the replication of this particular material master. So I wanted to, once I create this particular material, I wanted to distribute this material to some another SAP system or non-SAP system. So you can distribute this particular material from using these respective links. Again, you can import the data into MDG system as part of your initial imports or bulk migration. Okay, so you can use this particular activity. On the right hand side, it will show you some of the and analytical reports where how many requests are pending with you, how many requests are rejected by you, and so all the history you can see actually over here with a different one. Okay, the same things also available in the left panel. You can see the menu over here. You can expand each and every menu. You can see the same search material, create material, something like this. Okay, so the look and feel, as we discussed in the last session, so the home pages are same for all the objects. Okay, let's say for example, this is your material master homepage look like. Okay, so it's a one stop for all your activities that you can perform related to material master. You can create, you can search, you can actually change, you can look at the history of the particular materials and everything. This is the home page, and in real time, this particular link we will be providing it to the end users, whoever want to log in. So they can actually log in using their user credentials. They can actually navigate to this particular hyperlink. Okay, so it will take you to this particular page, and in this particular page depends on your authorizations. Okay, you can actually perform, these links will be enabled at user specific. We can provide some authorizations, accordingly these links will be provided. This is about the material master. Okay, at very high level, of course we will be discussing in detail all these each and every link over here in detail as part of this particular course. Okay, but now if I go to, let me open business partner. Okay, so and WBC, our customer, our vendor, any other master data. Okay, so you can look at something like business partner menu will be there. This is a customer menu, MDG customer menu. You can see this particular description. Okay, so this is the customer homepage where you can search materials. Again, process, you can perform bulk operations using multiple processing of multiple customers. Now the look and feel, even the you can look at this particular material mastery, have processing of multiple materials. Here you will have processing of multiple customers. Similarly, you'll have the change documents, analytical reports, data replication, distribution in the master data, and you can load the master data. So this is your customer, so master. Okay, the only difference is here you can actually search the material, here you can actually search the customers. And when I click this search customer, it will take me to another page where I can search the customer data using different, by inputting some different parameters. Similarly, when I go to material master and click on search material master material, I'll get this kind of home page. Okay, now I can search my materials based on certain parameters, maybe based on authorization group, unit of measure, or based on all these parameters. I can search my material master. In the same way, in the customer master also, based on all these particular parameters, you can search. When I click search, it will show me all the data of customer related information. Yeah, I can see all these different customers. Okay. Now, similarly in the material master also the same thing. If I don't provide any data, and by default it says that pick only, get only 100 records at max. You can change this value to 100 or 1000 or whatever you want, but you can actually search. You can provide your some criteria, industry sector is equal to this XYZ, and click on search. So likewise, the point I'm trying to highlight is we discussed one of the point. It has the consistent behavior. One of the principle of your master data governance is it has the consistent behavior in terms of the UI look and feel, and in terms of like your governance approaches. If you know how to create a governance process around material master creation, it will be the same approach. You need to apply the same logic, same steps you need to follow for customer master. So it's not like for material master you learn something and customer you have to learn again something else. Okay, it's not like that. Okay, in MDG world, the UIs, the process, everything is common across all the objects. The only difference is whatever the governance approach, it's a two-step approval process, and I wanted to have this kind of process at step at requester level, and approver level I wanted to have another process. So the approach remains same, the concepts are same. The only thing is that here we are applying that concept on material master. In the other system, in other word, other say, why we are applying the same logic for the customer master business partner. Okay, so the look and feel is remains same. And again, the other important point is if I go to material master, okay, so here I wanted to create a new material. So that means I can click this new button. So when I click this particular new button, it is equivalent to your MM01 transaction where you are creating a material. So here we are creating a material through MDG specific processes. Okay. So when I click a particular new button, I'll get something called something change request type. So we will discuss this change request type later in the course. But let's choose one of the change request type. I'll select something over here. Let's say create material. It will take me to another web-based UI application, okay, where I can have the same kind of information. Look at this. You have the basic data here. Okay, so this particular basic data like unit of measure, material type, industry sector, all these are like you have in your ECC as well. You need to select industry sector and material type. The same thing is already available over here, material type and industry sector. And once you choose the information, when you go to the next, you see here basic data 1 and 2. So this basic data 1 and 2 is the combined information that you get to see over here in under one single basic data. After that, you have something called material descriptions. You can maintain in multiple languages. You can maintain the materials dimensions. Okay, and similarly you can maintain the classification, purchasing. So whatever you see here, classification is there. You have something called purchasing related one is there. Okay, so they maybe based on the material type, it shows some of the views, but you'll get to see like all your accounting information, plant related information, valuation related information, warehouse related information. So whatever the views that you see over here, these views are arranged in this particular fashion over here on your UI application. Okay, but it's the same information that we are capturing in through MDG as well. Okay, now what happens using this particular UI, if I enter some material data, if I enter some material data, let's say for example, unit of measure is each, material type is FERT, industry sector is something, let me select from F4. Okay, so likewise I'm just maintaining some basic information. I can click the submit button. So when I click the submit button, what happens is the difference here, clicking the submit button versus the difference, like I mean, uh, you go to basic data one and view, just maintain some information here. Unit of measure is each. Okay, and when you click here save button, so there is a difference here. If you click the submit button, what happens? And in ECC, if you click the this particular save button, what happens? So this is where the difference comes for MDG. Okay, so what happens is you have your SAP system. Okay, so in my SAP system, this is my ECC component, the regular ECC system. Okay, where you will be having your MM01 transaction, and in the backend you will have the tables, database tables like Mara table, Marcy table. All material master related tables will be there. So from MM01 transaction, okay, so that means what I'm trying here, when I click this particular save button, 482, there's a material number called 482 already created in my Mara table. Now I can go and check this particular material number. So 482 is the material number that already just created it. Okay. Now, so this, that means what happens is from the regular ECC, if you try to create a material and when you hit the save button, the material will get created and the data, it's already available in your, the DB, the database. Okay. So take in using MDG, the application, web-based application, that whatever I showed over here. Okay. Where is this? Yeah. So now when I click this submit button, what happens is this is MDG. I'm creating this particular material using the MDG related UI application. So MDG is a separate add-on component. You need to activate this MDG add-on component in your EC. So when you activate this add-on component MDG, so by default, you will get some functionalities. What are those functionalities? You get the UI applications. So there will be some standard UI applications will be provided. And those UI applications, you can actually use the one of the UI application I showed you, that material master, customer master. So for every master data, you get this kind of UI applications readily available. And you can actually use those UI applications to create a master data. And when you create a master data and when you click on submit button on your UI application, so here you will have something called staging area. Staging area, we can call it as a staging layer, staging area. Okay, so the data gets actually loaded into your staging area. So whenever you click a submit button from your MDGU applications, the data gets loaded into this particular staging area. Okay, so it won't directly go to your Mara or ECC, the backend tables. It will be temporarily persisted in this particular staging area. Okay, so now on top of this particular staging area record, your record get inserted into your staging area. It won't be available in your ECC tables. And on top of your staging record, what happens is system, you can actually build a governance process. Okay, so if you set up a process around this one, when I'm creating a material, it has to go for always 2-level approval. That means you can, your process will be like requester will initiate the request, and once he submits, it goes to the approver one, and approver one will validate the data and it goes to approver two, and approver two will again validate the data, and finally he can actually activate this particular record. When he activated the record, your this governance process will get completed, and the data from your staging area will get loaded into your respective ECC tables. Okay, so that means only at this particular final step only your record will be pushed to your underlying ECC database. Okay, so that's where actually that's how we can achieve the governance process. That means all your changes, whatever the reviews or everything happens, the governance process happens around your master data. That happens till here, up to this particular layer only. Okay, so once the approver approves that record, then only the data will be available. It will be actually, the data will be pushed to your underlying ECC tables, and from there you can actually configure, you can actually replicate this particular master data to multiple target systems. You can distribute this particular master data to multiple target systems like this. Okay, so the governance means the difference between the creation of a material using your MDG versus creation of a material using your regular ECC transaction. There is a lot of difference. SAP introduced this particular staging area concept as part of your MDG, where the you will have a placeholder to store your working record. Okay, so if I don't want it to, as soon as someone creates the material using my MDG UI application, I don't want to push the data directly into my ECC. I don't want this process. I want this record to be reviewed by different people in the organization, so that before pushing that record to the underlying ECC, it has to be reviewed by all the experts and all the stewards, and only finally the record has to be pushed. In the entire process, this approver one may reject this particular record. So if he rejects this record, what happens is the record won't push to your underlying ECC. Instead of that one, this record will get deleted or discarded or rollback. Okay, so this record can be deleted. That means we might be create it, not necessarily that all the requests that are created by end user in MDG will get approved. Okay, if I create some thousand maybe 100 materials today, out of 100 materials maybe 90 materials will get approved by the approvers. Okay, and those approved records will be available in my ECC system to use this for the transactional activities. The rejected records won't be pushed to my underlying ECC, it will be rejected there itself. Okay, so this is the major difference. Along with the governance approval process and all that stuff, you have a dedicated staging area, okay, for every master data, and that particular dedicated staging area will be used to store your master data, your working record, temporarily here. Okay, so this is the very high level that governance approach. Okay, now after this, as I said earlier, to activate MDG, we need to have a we need to install this particular add-on component in any SAP system. Any SAP system is any on any ECC or S4 system. So you need to actually activate this particular one. So how to activate this? Okay, there might be two use cases. One use case is, let's say for example, scenario one. Scenario one. In this particular scenario, my business is already using SAP system. Okay, so this SAP system where I'll be creating the sales orders, purchase orders, then invoice documents, goods movements, all the transactional related activities I'll be performing over here. Okay, and even material creation. Okay, and material creation or change, business partners, customers, vendors. Okay, okay, finance, cost centers, cost elements. So this is my master data, this is my transactional data. Okay, both are creating, I'm creating in the same SAP system. Okay, now in this scenario one, what I can do is, now instead of creating this particular master data, okay, in my using the regular transaction codes mm01, mm02 or else xk01, what I can do is I can lock down these transactions so that these transactions won't be accessible to anyone. And then what I can do is I can activate my MDG add-on component in the same system. Okay, so if I activate my MDG add-on component in the same system, so I can actually have all the MDG related UI applications, the NWBC applications, I can use it here. I can use the UI applications to create the master data. So this particular master data now will get created from this particular layer, and from there the data will be pushed to the underlying one. Okay, so always remember, this MDG components or MDG layer will be used to create only the master data, Okay, this is not for transactional activities. The name itself says it's a master data governance process. So you can actually create a master data. So all the UIs, everything that is there as part of your MDG, that supports your master data creation, not the transactional data creation. Okay, so instead of creating the master data here, now I will use this particular layer to create a master data. Okay, so this is one scenario. That means what I'm doing is, in this particular scenario, on the existing ECC system, on existing my transactional system itself, I'm activating my MDG related component to use my MDG functionalities. To create the master data using MDG, I'm activating my MDG component on the existing transactional system. This is a transactional system, right, where I'm creating the sales orders or purchase orders and all that stuff. Okay, so that means I'm creating my master data and transactional data in the same system. Okay, now this kind of approach, we call it as a co-deployment approach. Co-deployment co-deployment approach. Okay, so that means in case of co-deployment, we are activating your MDG related functionality on top of existing SAP transactional system. We are not actually creating any new system and especially building all these functionalities in the new system. It's not like that. We are using the existing SAP transactional system itself to use the master data MDG functionalities on the same system. So this kind of approach, we call it as a co-deployment. Okay. Now going back to how to activate this particular MDG components in this particular SAP system. So there is a in any SAP. Okay, you can actually activate your add-on components like your SRM component or CRM component, or probably IS utilities components, IS retail components. So any SAP add-on component, if at all you wanted to activate in the existing system. Okay, so in this particular system there is a transaction code called SFW5. SFW5 is the transaction code where you can actually log into this, but you can actually get into this transactional code. It will take a couple of minutes time. Okay, so here you can see all these add-on components SAP gives in terms of something called business functions. Okay, so business functions. Okay, business functions. Okay, so what SAP will do is they create all the components required for MDG and they package it, and in terms of business function they give it something like using business functions. Okay, so we need to get into this particular SFW5 transaction code. Inside this one there will be some MDG specific business functions will be there. We need to activate those business functions. Again, we don't get authorization in any project in your project landscape. This transaction code will be actually meant for basis guys. This is for the basis people. So what basis will do is, if at all you need an MDG, so basis will go to SFW5. They will activate the business function specific to MDG. Then you can start using the MDG related components. So that means your UI applications, your staging area, everything will get generated. You'll get actually activated when you activate your business function. Okay, so the transaction code is SFW5. Here all these are the different business functions. You can see ISU is there. Okay, likewise for MDG, let's search with material. Let me just search with then the term. just, yeah. So these are the business functions. You can see here, these business functions are actually divided into multiple into 4 or 5 categories basically. Okay, so one is, let me, okay, so business functions, you will have something called foundation, foundation layer. Okay, and after that you will have object, your application, application specific business functions, application specific, specific ones. Okay, under application specific you will have like a material master, business partner. Again, under business partner it is subdivided into customer, vendor, vendor. Okay, and you will have something called finance related objects. Under finance you will have like cost center, profit center, cost element, GL account. So likewise all finance related objects. Okay, and there are some additional components are there, like article master, article master, and you also have something called EAM objects, plant maintenance objects, EAM objects. Okay, under EAM you will have something called uh, 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 equipment, functional location. So likewise there are bomb, there are multiple EM objects are there. Okay, so all these are like in material management I'll using this particular master data. In business partners or sales orders, purchase orders, I'll be using this particular master data. In financing documents I'll be using this master data. IS retails I'll be using article master as a master data. And in plant maintenance these are my master data. All these are different application specific. So whatever the master data, okay, you wanted to govern using MDG processes, you have an option. These are the out of box. You get this particular business of these particular master data. Okay, all these we categorize under application specific business functions. Okay, and foundation is the one which actually need that particular foundation layer, your MDG core functionality. So that particular foundation layer we need it. Okay, so always we need to activate your foundation specific business functions irrespective of the particular master data. Once you activate your foundation business specific business functions, then depends on your usage. If at all you wanted to use it for material master, you can activate only related functions. If at all you wanted to BP customer vendor, you can activate this. For finance objects you can activate. Okay, either you can activate any of them in the combination, or else you can activate individual, depends on whenever you need it. Okay, but foundation is the one which is mandatory for all these things. Okay, that's why if you look at this particular business functions, foundation will be there. Okay, foundation 10 is there, up to foundation 10. Okay, so this foundation, this 1 2 3 4 5 6 10 9 10, so this indicates in as part of MDG different releases SAP includes different foundations. Let's say for example in MDG 7, in MDG 7 this is the latest foundation. After that SAP released MDG 8. In MDG 8 all the delta features they added under this particular business function. So if at all you wanted to use MDG 8, you need to activate right from 2 to 6. Each and every business function will have the delta changes from previous release to the current release. Okay, so if I'm using MDG 9, if I activate alone this one, that doesn't make any sense. I need to activate right from 2 to 7. The latest one is MDG 9.2. So that's where you have this particular business function. Now on S4, SAP come up with foundation 10. This foundation 10 will contain the features specific to S4, not from till 9. This one, foundation 9, you can actually activate in your ECC or else even in your HANA system as well. But this 10 is exclusively for HANA system. You can see here. Similarly, in HANA, you have 2009 and 2109 also there. Okay. So now likewise, first our basis will do this particular activating this particular business functions. How to activate? They will be selecting each and every one. There is something called click on activate changes. Then automatically this particular, you can see this particular bulb button. It is in light mode. Okay. So it is in active mode. So it is activated. Initially, it will be something like this. You see here it's in gray color, not activated. Okay. Now after foundation, if at all I wanted to use material master, okay, in using MDG, I wanted to use the material master, then you need to activate the specific material related business functions. Similarly, you have for finance related business functions. Similarly, for supplier, customer, you have this one. Bupa means business partners. So business partners. Okay. So likewise, if you have article master and everything, so that we need to actually basis has to import those files. Once they import those files, you can see in the list article master EM objects as well. Okay. Now the point is here, this particular business functions needs to be activated to say that this is my MDG system. Okay. Now the question is where I can actually activate this particular business function. That is a question. Okay. So one use case we discussed is I can activate this particular business function, use case one or scenario one. Scenario one on the existing ECC, I'll activate my MDG related business function. This is my existing one. Okay. This setup we call it as a co-deployment. Co-deployment scenario. There is another scenario called scenario 2, hub scenario. Okay. In this hub, what happens is I already have my existing transactional system where I'm creating yeah, Kiran, just give me a minute. Let me finish this. So where I can actually create a sales orders, purchase orders. Okay. So all that particular transactional documents. Okay. I don't wanted to activate this on this particular system. Instead of this one, what I can do is, okay, instead of activating here, I'll take a separate another SAP system, which is equivalent to this system. Equivalent to this system, I can actually get another copy or another instance of this particular system. And in this particular system, I will activate my MDG functionality. MDG functionality. Okay. So that means whatever the layer you have, your ECC layer over here, okay, the same layer is also available over here. Now on top of this particular one, I'm activating the MDG related functionality. Okay. Now this box, whatever I'm highlighting over here, this particular box is equivalent to this particular system. Okay. The only difference is this particular system. Okay. So where I'm creating the sales orders, purchase orders and all this system, I call it as a transactional system. Okay. Now I don't create the master data. As soon as I introduce this MDG separate MDG box, I don't create master data in this particular system. Okay. So that means we will lock down all the transactions, and this is equivalent to this particular one. Now I'm activating this MDG component. Now, why I said this is equivalent to these two yellow color boxes are same. The only because as I said earlier, to activate MDG system, you need an ECC system or S4 system. So that's why I set up a new ECC system and activated on top of this particular system. Okay. Now what happens is, as per this one, the data will be created from here to this particular, because this is an ECC system. I'll be having all the Mara, Marcia, all the regular tables. So whatever the standard tables are available over here, okay, I'll also have the same set of tables here as well, because it's a ECC layer. Now initially the data will get created, and after approval process, the data will be pushed from MDG staging area to the underlying ECC tables, and from here we will replicate the master data to the target system. Assume that this is my target system. Earlier I'm creating master data in this system itself. Now I cut down this particular, removed, I locked down all these transactions for master data creation, and I took a separate SAP system, and I enabled the business function so that I can start using my MDG system. Okay. So this kind of setup, we call it as a hub setup, MDG as a hub. That means you are setting up one centralized master data system exclusively just to create a master data. I'm having one separate system. In this system, I don't create any sales orders, purchase orders, or anything. I always have my separate transactional system where I create all the master transactional activities, and I'll have a separate system to create a master data. The difference is in scenario one, this is the system where I'll be performing the transactional activities as well, and also creating the master data as well in the same system. Okay, I need only one system. Co-deployment, your transactional system and your master data system coexist in the same system. Whereas in case of hub scenario, I don't touch this particular master data transactional system, existing system. Instead of that one, I'll introduce a new SAP system and I activate my MDG component on top of this system. This kind of setup, we call it as a hub setup. Okay. So yeah, Kiran, please, you can ask your questions. Hello. Is there any question?
Um, Hi Akshay, this is Srinivas. I have a question.
Yes, Srinivas.
Yeah, so hub and core deployment, who will decide that one? Say we need to go hub or core deployment.
Exactly. So that is what my next topic after this one. But you are clear, right? Whether what is the difference between co-deployment and hub scenario? Okay.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Uh,
one more question.
yeah.
So you said that there is a business function we need to activate if we have the authorization. If not, so this is will activate,
No,
right?
no. It's all the time. It's a basis responsibility.
Okay.
To
So
activate your business functions all the time, it's a basis responsibility.
okay. So in that case, definitely basis people will ask, so what are the functions need to activate, right? So
No,
versions are keep on change, definitely will change in since currently it is a 9. So tomorrow it will be 9.5 or something, right?
yeah,
So where should I get the information?
yes,
So this is the release. These are the business functions need to activate.
yeah.
So that
So
information where can I get?
yeah, ideally, the basis guys should aware of this one, what business functions they need to activate. Okay, so if anyone goes to SFW5, there they can see it starts with MDG keyword, right? So they can see that and they can activate. But we can say only activate the material foundation is the one mandatory. Ideally, they should aware of that one. Okay, and after that, if at all you are using only for material master, we can say that only activate the material master foundation plus material master related business functions. Otherwise, they should at least aware of this and they should ask you the question. Okay, so do you want me to activate all or only material master or only customer master or only finance? So like that, they should ask the question. But if they don't ask, that is the reason I'm explaining here. Being an MDG functional consultant, we also should aware of that. Okay, whether we wanted to go ahead and activate all or only few. Okay, so that we should aware of. Now we know as part of the project we can actually collectively take a decision saying that okay, where the foundation is one mandatory, and if you are working only on material master, let's activate only material master. And if there is no scope or there is no requirement to use the business partner or customer vendor at this point of time, don't activate that one. Okay, but when you are activating material master, whatever is available in your system, the business functions, always activate the latest one. I mean, up to the latest ones. So right
Okay.
from material, basic material to material, whatever you have the latest one, you can activate till material 9. Okay. Now, if you are on HANA system, you can look at that one. Okay. So how do you know where to get all that information? There is an SAP MDG. If you go to Google and MDG community, this is the place where you will get all the information. Okay, if at all you are using HANA system, what there will be something called a configuration guides. Okay, so those configuration guides will be available over here. Let me show you here. They mentioned current release information. This is for the latest release information, and also you will get a configuration guides as well somewhere. Okay, we will come back to this one. This is very important page for us as an MDG guy. Okay, but before that one, if you don't, here it will be there somewhere, or else you can actually Google it. Let's say, for example, SAP MDG Material Master Configuration Guide. So they'll give step by step configuring material master governance for configuring master data governance for material master. Okay. So here you'll get a step by step functionalities. What are the things you need to do? BC sets. Yeah. Now you can see here itself. The first one is the prerequisite. As I said earlier, even if at all you wanted to activate material master, foundation is mandatory. So that's why it says that up to foundation 8 is there. Okay. And in material master, it will be up to material 7. This is for MDG 9.1. And if at all you have MDG 9.2, where is this MDG 9.2? So you can actually choose here the versions. This is the latest version, MDG 9.2. Okay, you can choose the version. It automatically fetches the latest functions. Now see here, foundation 9 is there. Okay, and after up to foundation 9 is there, and you also have MDG 7. Material 7 is the latest business function. And if you are on HANA system, you can actually choose over here. Where is this on HANA? You can download this particular PDF. Okay, so what you can choose your depends on the version. This is the latest version, MDG 9.2. Okay, and here they'll mention that what are the steps. Always this is the first step. Basis will be performing. After this, there are some more steps are there. You need to perform all these steps. That we will see it later. We'll discuss all these steps later. Okay, we are only discussing about the business functions, activating the particular business function. There are up to 15 steps are there. You need to follow 1 to 15 steps to configure your material master in MDG system. Okay, if you follow this step 1 to 15, it will be done. Okay, and it's very easy to follow all these steps. Okay, fine. So that is about here you can actually Google it to get what is the latest version. So that is fine all the time. Okay, so Kiran,
Okay.
we can't hear you, Kiran. I don't know what is the problem, and I'm not sure even if I can unmute you. Not sure if you log in from. No, we can't. I can't hear you. Okay, so now this is how actually you can know, but what there are security responsibilities are there, some activities, and some of them will be basis, and some of them will be the MDG consultant. We will discuss who will do what activities while configuring this particular MDG system. Okay, but now for now, what is it's important to know what is the difference between co-deployment versus hub scenario, because in general, if you are working on any MDG project, first thing is that they ask the first question in first 1 or 2 questions. This will be definitely one question. Okay, which landscape you work, whether it's a co-deployment or hub, or which version you are working, MDG, which version, 9.2 or 9.1, or what is the 9. Okay, 9.2 is the latest version, and whether it is on ECC or whether it is on HANA. So these are the common questions comes in first 5 to 10 questions. You will get these questions only, and after this the next question will be which module you worked. Some people will call it as a module or something, but usually in MDG we'll have which master data you worked. Okay, you can say, okay, I worked mostly on material master side, or I worked mostly on business partner side, I worked on finance side, or I had exposure on all these areas. So it depends on your previous project experience, you can say like that. Okay, so now with this co-deployment and hub, the difference is in which system you are activating your business functions, whether you are activating on the existing transactional system, or you are having a separate altogether a new SAP system, and activate the business functions in that particular SAP system. Okay, so this is the difference between co-deployment versus hub system. In what cases I go for co-deployment and in what cases I go for hub scenario. First, let's look at co-deployment scenario. Okay, in case of co-deployment, okay, in case of co-deployment, what I'm saying is this is my MDG system, oh sorry, ECC system. On top of my ECC system, I'm activating the my MDG component. Okay, now first advantage that you get is here when you are actually, as I said earlier, you will have something called the staging area over here. And when from your UI application, whenever you create a master data, first it gets loaded into your staging area. And from there, once the record gets activated by approvers, the data will be pushed to your underlying ECC. This is a scenario. That means this particular process happens automatically. We no need to write any logic or anything. As soon as the final approver approves the request, the data automatically pushes to your underlying ECC system. This is the advantage. With this one, what happens is you no need to actually set up a separate replication process. So this activity is gone. No replication required, explicit replication. When I say no replication required, that means to this system, to this particular ECC layer where your transactional activities are happening, you no need to set up any specific replication. But let's say, for example, in your landscape, you also have another SAP systems. Maybe you have this SAP system for finance processes. You have this SAP system for probably for some purchase processes. You have some non-SAP system. Okay. So likewise, you have multiple SAP systems and you need this particular master data in those respective systems. Then only you need to replicate to those respective target systems. It's an optional thing. Okay. It's not like all the time there is no replication. Replication is not required to the same system, to the same transactional system. Okay. But if at all you wanted to distribute the data to any other SAP system, that is there. But whereas in case of hub scenario, what happens is I'm having my separate MDG box. Okay, so this is my transactional system. This is my MDG system. Okay, so even if I activate my request, the data will get into loaded into this particular system, this particular layer only. Okay, but I want the data in this system. So I need to set up a replication to this particular system. In addition to this system, if at all I have something called finance and purchasing and a non-SAP system, these are extra replications I need to configure. Okay. In this case, it will be always, you can ignore the same system, but here transactional system, here you need to count the transaction system also. Okay. So here replication is required. We call it as a data replication framework. DRF has to be configured. This is also DRF only, DRF configuration. There is a separate topic, data replication framework. In MDG, there is a topic called data replication framework. That is one of the important topic for us. Okay. So I already here data replication framework, we already have it. So as part of the data replication framework, we will be discussing how to replicate, how to configure the replication processes from MDG to multiple target systems. But the difference, the first important difference here is you no need to configure the replication in case of co-deployment to the same system, whereas in case of hub system, you need to always configure the replication to all the target systems, including your transactional system. Okay. Now, the second advantage that you get it over here in case of co-deployment scenario is, let's say, for example, so this, okay, so hub, sorry, in case of co-deployment, okay. So here, okay, let's say, for example, you have your transactional system. This is your transactional system. Okay. In transactional system, if functional, you have consultants or SD consultant. Usually consultants will set up a new plants or new purchasing organizations, new company codes, okay, new material types, okay. So all these are the things that your consultant will take care of in your transactional system. They will be going to that SPRO configuration, and there actually any new plants are introduced, they will actually add the plant specific configuration. Similarly, if at all new material types are introduced, or else new probably material groups are introduced, new company codes are introduced, or new purchasing org are introduced, new sales areas are introduced. For all in all these cases, there's the respect to MMR SD consultants will do that configuration. So if I'm using my hub co-deployment scenario, I will have my MDG component on top of my same transactional system. Whatever the new company codes, new material types, everything they are configuring as part of this particular transaction system, I can reuse in my MDG also. That means if I go to this particular system, in my MDG system, on this particular UI, okay, so you can see here material types are there. When I click a material type, page got expired. Let me create material. So here on this particular UI application, if consultant they added new material types, then I can actually do F4. I'll get to see all that. It picks all your configuration from your SPRO or underlying your ECC layer itself. Okay, so that means this there is no extra effort, or there is no extra effort for the MDG consultants in this one. So it's a one-time activity where the consultants will do consultant will do that SPRO required configuration. I'll get to see that configuration. In the same way, if they add a new plant in SPRO, I can actually use that particular plants in my while creating my material master. So I can go to here, I can click on add plant. I'll get to see all that particular plants over here, new plants as well. Okay, this is the advantage. Okay, again it reduces my effort. There is no need to call out any extra effort in case of syncing this configuration to your MDG. But whereas in case of hub scenario, what happens is your consultant will do the all the required configuration in this particular system SPRO configuration. But this is my MDG box, separate MDG box. Okay, now I don't get it automatically over here. I need to set up a process to sync this particular configuration into my ECC layer of MDG box. Here also I'll be having SPRO, but the consultant will do here only. Now I need to set up some process either through automatic syncing, or else through BC sets, or else through the manual configuration. If they are doing in many of the organizations, whatever I seen is, if the consultant or the ECC side consultants will do all the configuration, and parallelly the same consultant can also take the responsibility of repeating the same configuration in ECC layer of MDG box, or else they will tell you to that if the MDG consultants do these steps over here. Mostly it will be the same consultant responsibility only, because this SPRO, they are no, they aware of that one. We don't know what configurations we have to do it. Either they have to guide us, or they have to set up that one. Okay, but ultimately here the point I'm trying to say here is this particular SPRO configuration, or whatever for that matter, we call any other than master data, all these kinds we call it as a reference master. Reference master. Okay, so this particular reference master, you need to set up a sync process from your transactional system to MDG. Whereas for the same reference master that I already have it in my SPRO, I no need to do anything. It automatically gets, I can readily use that configuration in case of co-deployment. Because both are existing in the same system, both will share the same SPRO configuration. Because here we are, the reason I'm saying here is to have two SAP systems. One is my transactional, one is my MDG box. So I need to repeat that configuration over here. So there is no need of, this is a again favor towards your co-deployment scenario, that effort will be reduced. Whereas in case of hub scenario, it's a additional effort. Difference master data. Okay. So one we talked about replication. Another one we talked about reference master. So both are in favor of your co-deployment scenario only. The third point here is, here in terms of cost, so you need a separate SAP system over here, and the maintenance cost also will get increased. Okay. Now the maintenance cost will be there. It involves a lot of cost when you say separate, I need a separate box. But in this particular one, there is no additional cost because it's the same system. You have only one SAP system. So from cost point of view also, your co-deployment has favor towards that to take a decision. But there is one important aspect apart from all this. Okay, so let it be there, this additional effort. The important aspect that we need to consider is here. Let's say, for example, in case of co-deployment, okay, so I have my transactional system. On top of that one, I'm activating my MDG business functions. Okay, this is fine. I set up this process and I'm using this system to create the master data. I'm using this particular layer to create the transactional activities. I'll be using the another layer. All, all this is fine. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to use some functionality like in material master, for example, probably in vendor master, I wanted to use some functionality called alternate vendor functionality, or else web vendor subranges functionality. Okay. So there are some functionalities are there, which those functionalities might not be available in lower versions. That means on MDG, assume that on MDG 8.0, that particular functionality is not there. And SAP released recently MDG 9.2 version. That functionality that I'm looking is available on 9.2. That means I need to upgrade my MDG from 8 to 9.2. So in this case, what happens is you cannot alone upgrade your MDG component. For to have your to activate your MDG 9.2 component on the ECC side. Let's say, for example, you need some a support pack version of your transactional system is also very important. Let's say, for example, you have on EHP6. Now, to activate this particular component, you need to SAP mandates that the underlying ECC functionality should have that latest support pack of EHP7. Assume that. Okay. So that means you need to also upgrade your underlying this particular ECC component as well. MDG you cannot alone activate MDG. You need to activate first. You need to upgrade from EHP6 to EHP7. Then you need to activate your MDG 9.2 functionality. So which means you are touching your underlying ECC component, existing component as well. That means when you go for an upgrade, it involves lot of effort in the sense you need to first technically upgrade the system. Upgrading from HP6 to one version to another version, okay, always involves lot of development effort. Okay, so like you need to adjust all the SPOW activities. I think SPOW SPDD activities will be there. Okay, and technically, and after that, lot of testing is required in this particular EHP7. Okay, because now you upgraded your system, so you need to test all the business scenarios are working fine or not. So when you need to test that one. So that means you need to call out a separate effort for your transactional system upgrade also. But business may say, they may ask question that why you wanted to upgrade to EHP 6 to 7. My business transactional activities are running smooth. Why I wanted to touch unnecessarily? Then the question is, because of MDG, you are actually upgrading your underlying ECC also. This involves cost effort, and there might be some issues probably that because of this upgrades we need to test everything. So unnecessarily, without any business requirement, we are testing our existing ECC system. Okay, but whereas in case of hub scenario, assume that this is my transactional system, my this is my transactional system, and my MDG is here. Okay, separate hub system, right? So my MDG component is here. I can upgrade my EHP 6 to 7 here happily. Okay, because there is no transactional activities are running in the system. This can still continue to be there on EHP 6 only. There is no problem with this one. Okay, so there is no testing effort required over here, or probably very minimal effort is required when it comes to the integration part. Maybe you are replicating some IDOCs to the target system. You just wanted to do some non-impact testing, or it will be very minimal. All your effort will be here only. Okay, so without touching your transactional system, I can happily go for an upgrade. So this is very, very important when it comes to the business stability, or you are isolating both the systems. We are not actually tightly integrated. Both are decoupled. Okay, so you can happily go and upgrade without any impact of your business processes. Okay, so this is very important aspect when it comes to the business. So that's where if business can afford all the other activities that I discussed earlier, replication, it's a one-time effort. You need to just configure one time from MDG system to the transactional system. Once you spend it, the time on this one configuring, that's it. So rest of the whole time you can actually just use that one. It's a one-time effort. Reference master data to copy from here to here, either you can set up automatic process, or it's because the reference master data also doesn't regularly go for a change, or else you can call out some minimal effort to sync both the systems. But still, this is what way doing the MDG as a separate system. Okay, but when it comes to this particular upgrade activities, and okay, so that means we have indirectly making a dependency with your transactional system. Until transactional business leadership or business users are giving a go ahead, we cannot go for MDG upgrade. But whereas in this case, without touching your transaction system, I can go for an upgrade of my MDG system. So there is no dependency with the transactional. Okay. So that's why always SAP recommends to go for hub scenario. So that in future also, if MDG introduces some new functionalities, new innovations, that you can actually activate those things and you can use it on your MDG system without touching your transactional business processes. So if customer, the customer can afford, always this is the recommended update approach. But if customer says that no, I don't want it to go for a separate system, my business is very small and I have only one transactional system, I don't have too many systems in my landscape as well, then you can go for co-deployment. But this kind of will be dependency will be there. So we need to see, or we need to highlight the dependency. If business agrees that that's fine, let it be there, those dependency, that's fine, you can actually go for co-deployment. But otherwise, always the recommended approach is MDG as a hub scenario. Okay, so is that clear, Srinivas?
Yes, clear, Akshay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Fine. So now let's go to this particular PPT. Okay. So this is one of the slide. It says that where MDG as a separate box, centralized, we can say it's a centralized governance system. Okay. And from there, you can replicate your, once the master data gets created, you can replicate the master data. You can distribute the master data to n number of target systems. Okay. And another approach is consolidation. Consolidation, like similar to MDG, consolidation also one of the small add-on component that's there. Okay, this is also in MDG. We will be having three components. One is the MDG in master data, basically not in MDG. In master data, you will be having three components. One is MDG as one component which we are discussing. Another one is MDC, Master Data Consolidation, and the third one is DQM, Data Quality Management. So these are the two small and add-on components or innovations after MDG. Okay, so consolidation has some different purpose and it has separate business functions as well. So consolidation doesn't come with your MDG business functions. It's altogether a different one. That's why if you can go to the business functions here, there will be some separate business functions will be there for consolidation. You can see here MDG consolidation. And consolidation is available only for material master, business partner, customer object, or supplier objects, and not for finance objects. Okay. So this is the consolidation business function, and it has some different purpose. In the last session, I explained what is at very, very high level, what is consolidation. But of course, we will discuss the consolidation once we complete all MDG topics. Okay. So I can actually activate consolidation without MDG business functions. I can also activate my consolidation related business functions also. Okay. Now third approach is hybrid approach, where you can activate consolidation business functions, MDG one. Consolidation has certain processes meant for certain scenarios. Those scenarios will use consolidation, and after that MDG will use MDG specific governance approaches for creation of master data, and after that the data will get replicated to the multiple target systems. So in this one, we can activate MDC consolidation as well as governance both. Okay. Now the next one talks about the same business function. This is 9.0, but we have the latest version 9.2. Okay. So as I said earlier, so you need to activate the business foundation layer. Okay. And application specific ones. So this is for material BP. This is for material master. Application specific business functions will be there. And consolidation has got altogether different business functions. Independently, you can activate consolidation. So it gives an overview of this one. Okay. Okay. Now, so this is the one we just discussed. What is the difference between hub versus co-deployment? You can see here this particular picture. It talks about hub. Hub means MDG add-on component. That means MDG business function is activated in a separate system, whereas you will have your operation system or your transaction system 1 and transaction system 2. So in this box, there is no transactional activities. Transactional activities will happen only in these two boxes. Whereas if you look in case of hub co-deployment, one of your transactional system I'm using as a MDG box, and another one is a separate box. And I need to set up a replication from here to here. Now see here, in case of co-deployment, it's only one replication from operation system 1 to operation system 2. Operation system 1 acts as a co-deployment box. Whereas in case of hub deployment, you need to set up two replications. One is to operation 1 and another one is operation 2. Okay. No. So this is again one of the another dimension to that deployment options only. What it says is in case of hub scenario, this is your separate operational system. From here, you need to configure, you need to sync your configuration on time to time basis to your MDG box. Okay. And you need to configure a separate replication to your operational system. In case of code deployment, your reference master data configuration exists in the same operational system, and you don't need, there is no replication required from here to the any operational system, because the data will be already available in my same transactional system after the record gets activated. Okay. Now there is some of the points that we discussed, like in case of hub deployment, what happens is you will have your MDG as a separate box, but of course it involves cost, and reference master data and customization you need to synchronize, but it's a clean data approach. Clean data approach means you will have your MDG box as a separate system, so that will have all the master data. Okay. And what are the data I wanted to replicate to different target systems, conditionally I can replicate the master data. To one system I can replicate only material master, to another system I can replicate only the business partner data, to other system I can replicate customer master. So likewise, what are the data I wanted to replicate, I can replicate to those respective target system. But the important point is this one, future flexibility. That means future upgrades has independently can take a decision without consulting your transactional system business people. So that kind of flexibility will get it over here. Whereas in case of co-deployment, it shares all your MD ERP schema. That means your SPRO configuration, reference master data, everything. Along with that one, it also actually shares the roadmap. Roadmap means your upgrade activities has to be aligned with your underlying transactional system business persons. So if only the ERP guys are they when then only they decided to go for a EHP6 to EHP7, then only you can plan for your MDG. You cannot take your own decision on this particular system. Okay, so that's what it says, that it has bound to your underlying ERP future upgrade activities. Okay, now there is one more important aspect is that we discussed about 4 points. The fifth point is, I forgot to mention. Okay, so the fifth point here is, let's say for example, in case of co-deployment scenario. Okay, so this is the co-deployment scenario. In your ECC system, already you activated SRM functionalities. SRM is also one of the add-on component, or else CRM, or else IS utilities. Okay, so you already have activated these particular functionalities, some of this one. Okay, so you cannot activate your MDG business functions on all existing ECC systems. Only there is a limitation. That means there is a restrictions are there. If you already activated your CRM, you cannot activate MDG. MDG and CRM cannot exist in the same system. SRM also. IS utilities, of course, you can have it on the same. IS utilities and MDG can coexist in the same system. Or IS retail is also there. In case of IS retail also, it can coexist with MDG. But so the point here is, in case of co-deployment, you need to see what are the underlying add-on components. If they are already activated CRM add-on component, then you cannot go for co-deployment. It's a hard requirement to go for as a MDG as a separate system hub box. You cannot use the same box to activate this one. Okay, so this is one of the restriction. Okay, so there is a release note provided by SAP. What are the components in case of co-deployment? What are the components that you can coexist with MDG? Okay, so that information we need to look at. Okay, so business users, they are using a CRM as a system, and they can, if they come and say that, okay, can you activate MDG on the same system, then it is not possible. SAP clearly said you cannot use MDG and CRM in the same box. So it mandates that you have to go for an hub scenario. That is also one of the important point. Okay, now it's the same points that we discussed. Okay, so in case of hub, you need to distribute the data. In case of coexistence, to the same system, there is no need to replicate or distribute that one. Okay, upgrade flexibility, it's a decoupled. In case of hub, you can actually, whenever you want, you can go for an upgrade. It linked to your underlying ERP. Okay, now, so likewise, these are all we discussed. Cross domain management means, here you can actually use MMBP. All the master data will be available in one system only in case of hub. Okay, but here in case of co-deployment, what happens is, you are using one of your ERP operational one system as a MDG box. Then though you don't need in the transactional activities some master data, still, because you are considering this as your centralized MDG box, you have to use this system only to create a master data. Okay, so but in case of this one, all your master data will be available in one separate system, and from there you can replicate the data to the respective target systems. Okay, so yeah, Rajesh, any question?
Yeah, I'm just a bit confusing. We have already transaction system, which is we are maintaining vendor, customer, and material. Okay.
Mm, mm,
So
mm,
when we were using MDG version,
mm.
so ensure we have to be linked with our transaction data. That's what you're saying, right?
Mm, mm. Which point you are saying here, cross-domain management?
Co-deployment and hub service. There I got confused. The previous topic, co-deployment and hub.
Hmm.
Two scenarios was there, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
co-deployment, you said our transaction data need to get linked to MDG system.
There is no linkage here. What we are doing is, in case of co-deployment, when I say in case of co-deployment, okay, what we are trying to say here is, you already have your transactional system, right?
Yeah,
Where you are
yeah,
creating sales orders, purchase orders, and everything. Okay.
yes.
What I told for to use MDG, to say this system is MDG, I need any one ERP system, ECC system. On top of that one, I can actually activate MDG functionalities. So this is also one of the ECC system, ERP system. So I can activate my MDG business functions over here so that I'll get my MDG component over here on top of this one.
Okay,
So
in this transaction system, the vendor material customer is not part of. Only the PO and sales stock transfer will be part of is a transaction system.
yeah, so here before MDG, to create a sales order, you need a material, right? To create a
Yeah.
sales order, purchase order. So how do you get that material? Assume that there is no MDG, nothing is there. MDG is not there in the system. So how do you, while creating a sales order, how do you get the material number? You
From
need to.
ECC.
This is ECC only, right? This is your transaction system. So you go to MM01 and you create a material, right? First,
Yes, yes.
and then the same material you will use in your sales order. Is this correct?
Purchase order. Yeah.
Okay, sales order, purchase order. Now, when I activate MDG on the same system, this is my MDG component. I create a material using my MDG UI application, and I'll lock down this transaction. I don't need this one because I already have my MDG UI. So instead of from this one, I create the material and I'll use that material using for this one.
Okay, okay, okay. Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, now I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So that means instead of using your regular ECC transaction codes to create a master data, you use the MDG UI applications or MDG governance processes or MDG UIs to create your master data.
Okay. Okay, fine. Only for this 4 or 5 masters, we'll use this MDG.
Yes.
Apart from this, whatever we start, PO, stock transfer, inventory, all this will be part of ECC.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
So now
oh,
here, if I take this one, using this MDG layer, what all the things that you can do ultimately, forget about all the workflows, governance, and everything. Ultimately, what is my goal? I can create materials. I can create business partners, customers, vendor or supplier. I can create cost centers, profit center, cost element, GL accounts. Okay. Or I can create article master, or I can create article master will be used in IS retail space. Okay, there is a add-on component IS retail. The same material in IS retail we call it as a article master. Here the T code is MM41. Here it is MM01. It uses the same Mara table, but it has some more features. That's it. Retail specific attributes will be there. Okay, if you activate your article master thing. But this is also you can create using MDG. And plant maintenance, you have something called equipment, functional location, BOM. Likewise, there are some masters are there. Okay. Now, using MDG, you can always create only these master data. These masters you will create using MDG layer. And once you create these masters you can use any of your sales orders, purchase orders, goods movement documents, your invoice documents, your POs or anything. Okay. So those comes your transactional part. You create a master data and this master data you will be using for your transactional purpose. Now this MDG layer will be either on the same transactional box or it can be two separate boxes. This is transactional, this is MDG box. This is MDG box. Okay. So using this or using this, you create these masters.
Okay.
Okay, so hub means it's a simple. You will have a you need a separate. Let's say, for example, in your project landscape, you will have separate development box, then testing system, and then production box. Three separate servers will be there. Similar to that, this one in MDG, if at all I need a separate MDG box. Some okay, so that box I will be using only for a server. I will be using only for MDG activities, nothing else. I don't, if you go to this particular MDG box, if you go to sales orders, display any sales order, you don't find any sales order because you are not creating. This is not meant for, of course, you can create sales orders and everything, all ERP functionalities, but no one will use this one. If you are using this for your transactional activities, then we call it as a co-deployment, not hub. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Yep. Fine. So this is very, very important topic, hub versus co-deployment, one of the first concept that we come across in MDG. Okay. And after that, we have the MDG. Okay. As so far, we are discussing about this particular yellow color box. MDG, I'm saying every time. Okay. We just only talked about staging area. There is something called staging area. The data gets stored into that one. And after that, it will be go for some different approvals and everything. Okay. But as part of, once you activate MDG, what are the subcomponents or what are the features, what are the functionalities of MDG? That is what all this kind of this entire box. Here, this is the technical architecture overview of your MDG component. Within MDG, what are the things that you will be having? Okay, so within MDG, I'll be having first thing is staging area, as I said. So this particular one we call it okay, staging. Okay, like this is your staging area in MDG. Okay, we'll see what is the staging area, how it will get created, how we can see the staging area and everything. Okay, but assume that there will be something called staging area. This staging area will be always assume that it's your temporary area where you store the data, and once the record gets activated, the data will be removed from there. It's your temporary storage area. Okay, so data will come and go. Now, this staging area will you will have, as I said, in MDG we have different master data objects we can create. I showed you this. What are the master data that I can create in MDG? Okay, so materials, finance objects, business partner, customer, vendor. Along with that one, something called custom objects. Custom object in the sense, let's say in my organization, plant master is there. For me, plant is also one kind of master data. Okay, so I want to create a plant. I wanted to create that plant using MDG processes, but there is no out of box option to where you can actually create a plant using MDG. That's where you can create your own masters also using MDG. So the MDG framework supports where you can build your own master. You can design your own master. Okay, so this is the plant master. You can design your own staging area for plant master. You can design your own UI applications for plant master. You can create your own workflows for your plant master. So whatever I can do for material master, finance or business partners, I can run all those similar processes for plant master also using this custom object framework. That means, simple example, in SAP provided a standard report. Okay, we will use that report. Now you need similar kind of report but with different functions. So what you can do, you can create your own report, and whatever is there in the existing report, you just use that one, some of them, and some of them you build newly. So you can create your own zip report program. In the similarly, I can develop my own framework for my plant master in MDG. So your MDG supports to create your own master data. The framework supports to create your own master data. Using this particular custom object only, SAP, there are some SAP partners are there. They build this particular article master, plant maintenance masters, equipment, functional location bombs. So all these things are, you see here, you don't find this in this one, like material, finance or business partner. This is the standard SAP slide, standard SAP architecture. But where those article master, equipment master, final, those bomb objects will fit in, they will be covered under this custom objects. So you can build a small object master data, or else you can build a standard article master like a big objects as well using MDG framework. Okay, so SAP, in short, SAP divided this particular framework can be out as an out of box. You get material, finance, and business partners. Apart from that, any master data that you see, it's a custom master. Okay, so the framework supports. That's why SAP gave this custom object framework, and they're not developing any new masters. There are in CRM, in SRM, in HR module, there are so many master data there. But why you don't see all these masters from SAP when introduced this MDG? From then till now, you see only these three master data: material, finance, and business partner. SAP releasing, giving so many releases. In every release, you see some new features, but you don't find any new master. Why? Because they gave this one time this custom object framework, and whatever you wanted to build, you just build it as part of your project implementation. We don't, if at all SAP has to create, there will be, so SAP will end up creating some 100 plus masters. So they don't want it to do it like that. So only the important masters which can be used common across all the modules: material, business partner, customer, vendor, finance objects, SAP develop. Rest everything can be built using custom object framework. Okay, now apart from this, let me, okay, so apart from this staging area, we will see going forward, we need to discuss about the staging area, and all these masters we will be discussing, including custom objects. And SAP also provided, as a by default, you will get the UI applications, roles, work centers, workflows will be there, and the validations part will be there. So all these are the different features: UI applications, analytical reports, key value mapping. Okay, and everything will be, all these are comes with your MDG framework. When I say MDG framework, it includes all these components to support your governance processes. To create a master data, I need a UI application, and once I submit the data, I need a storage to store this information, and after that, I need a workflow to submit this request from one person to another person, and from another person to the other approvers, and finally the data has to be pushed from my MDG system, MDG layer, to the underlying ECC system. That's where I need a replication process, and I need a UI applications, roles, and work centers, everything. So all these are the components that comes as part of your MDG framework, which we are going to discuss each and every topic that I showed, I updated over here. So this is an architecture diagram. In the center box is your MDG box, and once you create your master data, you can replicate the right hand side. You see the target systems, okay, where you can replicate master data to SAP, non-SAP, or any cloud systems or anything. On the left hand side, it's an optional part. To further, SAP can, MDG can talk to this particular information steward or a data services, enterprise searches, HANA system. So all these are the add-on optional integrations. Why we need these add-ons, that we will talk it later. Okay, but the point here is MDG has come up with all these features, and it replicates the data to the right hand side systems, and the left hand side, it's an optional integration. One of the example for the optional integration is, while creating my master data, I wanted to connect to some DNB server, or probably some address related microservices, or probably some vertex system to further enrich my master data. Okay, so while creating something, I wanted to derive something from a non-SAP system on fly. So that's where you can make an integration with the third-party system. So MDG can talk to the third-party systems to derive or to enrich further your master data. So that's what the left-hand side, it's an optional part. And you can see here clearly, you can see here, as I said earlier, to activate your MDG, you need to have your ERP or ECC system on the as a in the down. Okay, on top of any existing ERP only, you can activate your MDG. That is what it this diagram talks about. Okay, so that means from now onwards, whenever I talk about MDG system, okay, I always draw the picture something like this. Okay, so this is my MDG component, and this we call it as your ERP or ECC or your S4 box. So this is required. This is mandatory. On top of this one only, in this system only can log in and you can activate MDG functions. So when I say MDG, I always represents like this. Why? Because here we are talking about two databases. One is your MDG staging database, staging area, and your ECC database. That means your ECC tables, nothing but your Mara, Marcy, all those tables. Okay, so yeah, so this is what the high level architecture diagram for MDG. And after this, you have something called, these are the out of box. As I said earlier, material master you can govern out of box using MDG, supplier, customer, and business partner, finance objects. EM, we call it as a plant maintenance. Enterprise asset management is called as a under plant maintenance. Equipment master you'll be having functional locations. Bombs you'll be having, and in RFM, this is your article master. Retail and fashion management, RFM, we call it as a. So these two components are SAP partners develop, not SAP. Using that custom object framework, they build these two masters. But from standard SAP, these three are the master data that are available. Okay, fine. So I'll stop for today here, and we'll continue tomorrow in the next session. We will get into the actual topic. That means, so till today we just completed this first topic up to deployment options. So this data model talks about the staging area. Before getting into the data model, we'll take one business use case. I'll explain how we are going to cover all these scenarios, what examples we are going to take. So that I will be covering, we will discuss in the next session, and we will start with this data model topic. This data model topic deals with all the staging areas. So as I said, the staging area concepts, right, in MDG. So that will be covered as part of this particular data model. We will look at how the staging areas are there for standard objects and how we can create the staging area for our custom objects as well.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.